Hey guys, so before this week's tutorial, I just want to make a quick announcement. After a lot of requests from you and emails asking me to provide you with the project files for all the tutorials here on my YouTube channel, I finally created How to Rhino Patreon page, and Patreon is a platform where you can support my work and the future of this channel, and in return you get the perks based on the perk level you choose. So far I've created 3 levels, and maybe the most interesting for you would be the level 2, where you can have access to all of my project files for all of my tutorials so far here on YouTube, plus the access to all the future tutorials project files that I will create, and that perk is $5 per month. So for $5 per month, you get access to all of the project files, and there's over 80 tutorials so far, and I'm just getting started with these. So if this is something that you would be interested in, go ahead and check my Patreon page, first link in the description. By becoming my Patreon, you're supporting this channel and allowing me to create better content and better tutorials for you. Alright, so now with that out of the way, let's move on to the tutorial. So today we're going to be modeling Ringdale Pavilion by Sports, and this is a project that was requested by some of you, so I decided to create a tutorial telling you and explaining you how you can model this structure in Rhino. I highly suggest that you check Sports' website. It is a company based in New York, and they create really awesome projects, and you can check out here some of them. This is the rounds. The project is called Rounds, and here you can check out how the project actually began, how the concept was developed, and you can check out some of their diagrams here, and we'll be using a lot of them to create this geometry in Rhino. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to import some of these images into Rhino. So before doing that, I'm going to check to see if units are set to feet, because this project is actually in feet, so I can see that it's in meters. Let's change it to feet. Let's click OK, and now let's import the project. So I'm gonna import here the base, here on the top, like this, and let's import some more images here. And now we're gonna be talking about how to scale them and how to go about working with them. All right, so at this point, we have the images that we need. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna actually trim them and create them according to the measurements. So let's create a line here, and let's trim this guy. I'm gonna move it a little bit here, like this. Let's do trim, and let's delete the bottom part, like that. And now let's actually scale this. So you can see here that this is 1 foot. So I'm gonna create a line here, and I'm gonna create it as 1 foot in this direction. So this means that this measurement needs to be scaled up all the way until here. So I'm gonna create one more line here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select this image and this element. I'm gonna say scale and go from here to here. And now this is the scale. And now let's move on with the rest. This is just for this we don't need to scale, but let's just increase it a little bit. And this is the most important part. So let's also cut this out, something like this, trim, and we're ready. Okay, so here we have the radius of 32 feet and 6 inches. So let's create, for example, the circle here. I'm gonna create one point here, and let's create this first initial circle. And let's measure how big it is. So it's 9.87. So this needs to be 32.5. So I'm gonna select all of these, and I'm gonna say scale from there. So let's go here from end until here. And now this should all be to scale. Let's measure again. 32.5. That's great. Okay, so Now, one thing that I like to do, I like to position this actually in the center. So let's go 0, 0, 0, like this. This we can put above, like this. And this is just for reference purposes. We don't need this that much. So the next thing, I'm going to go here to material and apply some transparency to these guys. And I'm going to lock them. Okay. Next thing is I'm going to actually draw out these lines that we're going to be using later on as reference points. So I'm just going to do this now quickly. All right, so now once we have all these lines, we can create one more circle that is going to be this outer one, like so. And now the next thing is to actually bring these guys up, and let's see what's the top height here. It says here that the top height is 13 feet, so we're going to increase this to 13 feet. And this will be our cylinder. Let's extract the surface on the bottom and on the top and delete it like this. All right. Now the next thing is to actually create those lines. So I'm going to select all of them. And we're going to do, in fact, I'm actually going to extend this a little bit. I'm going to extend it like so, just in case. And let's select all these files, and let's go extrude curve. Let's bring them up. Let's bring them down a little bit. And now let's do intersect. Let's just select this cylinder and all of these guys. And you can see that now we have those lines directly applied to the cylinder. And that's what we need. And now the next step is to see how many different heights we have. So here you can see that we have the thickness of this layer is 1 foot. So we have 1 foot, we have 2.6 here, 2.5, sorry, we have 4, we have 8, we have 10, 12 and 13. So I'm gonna select all of these and I'm gonna create these levels. So I'll start, it doesn't matter where you start from, you can just start from here. So this will be 0. Now I'm gonna copy it, and I'm gonna copy it 1 foot on top. That's 1. Now the next one is 2.5, so I'm gonna bring this 1.5 times up. And now the next one is 4, so let's bring this guy 3 times up. This next one is 8. So this one goes 8, like so. So we can actually check here to see if this is 1, this is 2.5, this is 4, this is 8, and I think we have 10, 12, and 13. So let's do that. So I'm gonna bring this 10, 12, and 13. All right, so we have what we need here. Now let's go and let's bring these guys here. Let's extend them. These lines for now, you don't actually need them anymore, so we can basically delete them or put them on some separate layer just in case. So let's just put them on layer number 2 and let's hide it. And now these guys I want to also bring here like this with extrusion, and let's do intersect one more time. These 2 elements, and once you click enter, you have all these applied. All right, so let's also hide these guys now, and let's move on. So now you can see here from the diagram that these areas that are in this hatch are actually the ones that are like totally on the ground. So first thing we can do, we can start from there. Okay, so I'm temporarily going to hide this. Before that, I will actually take this and say duplicate edge, just so I have this curve there for that purpose. All right, so I'm going to start trimming. I'm going to trim all the areas that are between these hatched areas, because this is going to be touching the ground. So you'll see here now in a minute what I mean. Yeah, basically all of them. So we could have done this faster, but we can do it this way as well. So now I select, all right, and now I select enter, and now let's trim these guys. So I'm going to trim all the way down to 1 foot only, so that I can have a better look at how my geometry will look like. There it is. Okay, so step number 1 done. Now I want to see the other heights of all these other elements. So to see those heights, you can actually reference here, and you can see that, for example, these 3 are the lowest ones, and they're actually, I think, these elements here, they look like them. So I can see that they are 4 feet. So let's measure the 4 feet. It's until here. So we're going to trim these guys here. Okay, we don't need the rest. And we can also trim here the bottoms. Like so. And in this case, I also want to create a thickness of 1 foot, which will be here. So that's those elements, and now I'm going to do the same process for all the other elements based on the heights here. So this element here, this stage will be the tallest, so that will be 13 for sure. So let's do that one. Actually, I'm just going to trim everything else here. Okay, and now this comes just 1 foot down, like so. That's the main stage. And now we have, here we have the bench. I think the bench is 2.6. So the bench is probably this, yeah. So let's go, let's trim it. Let's trim the sides. There it is. And now we have 3 of these left. And I think that, let me just check, we can see from here which ones there are. So yeah, so this one will be 10. So this one is 10 till here. We can trim the bottom ones here. Let's move it back like this. And now this one will be, I think this one will be 12 or 13. No, this one will be 12. Okay, so let's cut the rest here. All right, let's bring this guy down. And the last one, I think this one will be 8. And let's bring it until here. And let's trim the rest here. And there it is. So now we have the heights. We have the heights of all these elements that we need. So what is the next step? So the next step is to actually create the midpoints of all of these, all of the thickness. So how do we create a midpoint? Basically, we just take all the tops. So we just take the top elements, the top parts of all these segments, and once we have that, we can just copy it and let's bring it down 0.5, enter. We have the inner elements now, and now what we need to do is change the actual color, or change the layer of these guys, because we will need them to construct our structure. So I'm just going to quickly now select all of these that are inside. And then we're going to change the layer to red color so that you can see it better. And okay, we missed one, we missed a couple of here, so we need to repeat this process, but it's all right. Let me just finish the selection here. And that would be layer 1. And here, of course, let's move these guys down. And let's change the color using match properties. All right. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select all of these guys. I missed one here. I'm gonna select all of these red ones. I'm gonna say here select by color, and I'm going to isolate them. And now I need to trim them out. So I'm gonna select trim option and trim everything, both tops and bottoms. So you'll see why this is important in a minute. We want to actually create nice fillets in these elements, so that's why we need the middle of that structure. So let's move on. All right, so now we have all of them ready. And now the next thing is to actually create the fillets. So this may be a little bit like tricky because we're actually trying to create fillets on a surface which is curved, and most of the time that will not work. So there is a workaround, and the workaround is as follows. Okay, so first thing I'm going to show you how we will do this, and then we'll create some additional geometry to help us with this. So here we're going to use the option called circle tangent to 3 curves. And once I click here and here, you will see that I'll have this circle that will go basically on this edge and on the other edge. So as I move it out, the radius will change. So the thing is that I want my radius for all these bottom elements to be the same. So how can we do this? The easiest way would be to create some kind of geometry that will be like responsible for our radius. So I'm going to create just one more time this guy, and now I will just approximately see what's the radius that I like. So let's say that something like this. And in this case, I just need one reference point, and the reference point that I need is going to be the intersection of these guys, which will be this point. From that point, I will create a rectangle that will go, it will be bigger, and that will catch all of them. I'm gonna say planar surface, and now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually say intersect. I'm going to select all of these curves, and I'm going to select this guy. Actually, let's go with intersect 2 sets, that's better. Intersect 2 sets, first set are the curves, and the second set is this. And now you see that we have these points, and that's what we need to create the fillets. So I'm just going to now show you the process of creating this one fillet, and then you can do the rest on your own. So let's create from here. I'm gonna just select, click here and here, and then just go like this. And one more time, click here, here, and the third time there. And I can see that I have my fillet. And that's going to be created to all of these guys. So I'm gonna speed the video up now, and I'll see you in a little bit. Alright, so I just had to modify the radius and made it a little bit smaller because this bench will be, the radius would be too big for the bench. So that's why I just modified the radius to be the half here of the bench. I know that there is the exact radius is here, but I actually cannot see the measurements from these drawings, so that's why we're getting as close as possible to the drawing. So let's continue. Alright, so once we have all of these radiuses in position, now we're going to do the same thing for other elements. And for example here, let's see what would be the good radius for these three. They will be the same, and we'll basically do the same process once more. So that would be that one. Let's do intersect. And let's do rectangle from there. Let's move it into position here. Planar surface. Let's do intersect two sets. Let's select the curves. Let's select the second set, and there you go. So now we have what we need to create the rest of the radiuses. All right, and now I'm just going to repeat the same process for this area and for these two areas. All right, so now we have all of these ready. We have all of these fillets, and the next thing that we need to do is actually trim the fillets. So before continuing, I'm going to unlock the images below, and I'm going to put them on the third layer. Let's call them reference images, or ref. And I'll hide it just for now. So let me show you there is select points command here. You can select all of these points and delete them. So I'm going to start trimming now. So I'm just going to select everything, and I'm going to start trimming like this. And you can see that we're actually creating this shape from the project. However, there is some things that I still need to show you, and those things would be regarding the actual trimming phase. Once you trim things like this, sometimes they may not work like this. For example, now you see what happened. Let's just go step by step. And for example, here you need to be careful. Sometimes this trimming can lead to bad results, so you need to go one by one, like this. And in addition to that, sometimes the trimming may not create the continuous line, which is what we need. So I'll just trim this out now and show you the progress later. All right, so now when the trimming is done, what I wanted to show is that if you just go like this, select everything and click join, you will see that some things will join, some things will not join. And that's because we need to actually manually fix some points. For example, here you can see that this is not perfectly intersecting. So in this case, I'm gonna trim this part over there. And if it doesn't want to trim, I need to fix it up, and I need to actually move it, or actually split it here with one point. I'm just gonna say split, and I'm gonna delete this guy, and I'm gonna bring this point here. And now once I click join, this should work. There it is. So the same thing goes with a lot of them. So some are fine, but some need to be adjusted. So here I'm gonna click join. This works, and I'm just gonna go around like this and try to fix the ones that are missing. All right, so now once we have all of these guys connected, we should have one clean curve, and we can check to see if this is closed by typing select close curve, and if it selects, it means that it's all good. Now the last thing that we need to do is to create this curve onto this surface, or actually glue it to this surface. The way to do this is to use a command called pull, and I'm going to select the curve, enter, and I'm going to select the surface. Enter once more. All right, so now we're going to hide this red one, and we're going to use this one that is on the surface. And let's just go and let's type offset curve on surface. Let's select the base surface and offset distance of 0.5. That should be fine. And you can see that there is some messed up geometry here, but don't worry about it. We'll fix it later. And let's do it again. Offset curve on surface. Let's flip it in the upper direction. And now we have what we need. So now basically I'm going to hide this surface, and I'm going to see how we can actually fix some of these elements, because you can see that there is some curves that we actually don't need. So that's probably because, for example, here it didn't actually fillet it well. So that's the problem. So I'm going to trim it here, and I'm going to try to fix it here as close as I can. So I'm going to bring this guy here, like so, and that should fix it. Here also you can see that there is some strange things going on, but it's fine. With these fillets in Rhino, it's always a problem. And here we can maybe lower this guy down. All right, let's see what's next. Let's fix this guy here. I think that should be it. That should be it. And here also. All right, so now I cleaned up that offset distance, and the last thing I'm going to check to see if this curve is closed, and if it's not, I'm going to close it off in these areas like we did with the original curve. All right, so now once we have all of these guys fixed, we can delete the one from the inside, and we're almost done. Let's uncover the cylinder, and one more time we're going to do the offset. We're going to do the pull command. I'm going to change the layer to green. Let's do pull. Let's select the surface, and that should be it. So I'm going to select only the green layer. Select objects, isolate, and that's it. And let's do the basic split command. There it is. Now we just delete the top and the bottom, and we are ready. Let's select the curves, let's hide them, let's uncover the reference images, and let's do offset surface. Let's do distance of 8, and let's see the result. Okay, let's do the same thing but flip it, and we should get our pavilion. There it is. Alright, so that should be the Ringdale Pavilion. I hope that you liked the tutorial. If you have any questions or comments for me, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you have any suggestions for future tutorials, you can also leave them in the comment section. And in addition to that, if you want to get the reference files for this tutorial, you can get that on the first link in the description on my Patreon page. Alright, so take care and see you in the next one.